Hello, I am Dr. Rashid Ahmed from the Department of Physics of Kohat University of Science and Technology. In the subject of particle physics with the course code PHY 452, we are at the lecture number 24 and the topic is the Feynman rules. We have learnt already that for any process in the particle physics, how can we draw a Feynman diagram? If it is a decay process or if it is even a scattering process, we know how to draw the Feynman diagrams for these processes. But we did not do actual calculations, and now in order to do the actual calculations for different parameters like decay rates or cross sections, we have to calculate the amplitudes from these diagrams, and the Feynman rules tell us that how we can calculate amplitudes from the Feynman diagrams. In this lecture, I will give you a toy model. First, I will give you the Feynman rules, which are 6 in numbers, and then I will develop a toy model with the help of which we can calculate the amplitudes. And at the end, we will see then an example, a simple example where all these rules will be applied and amplitude will be calculated. So, to start with, I bring you back to the Fermi-Golden rule. If you remember, the general form of the Fermi-Golden rule was that any transition rate can be calculated in terms of two basic quantities, that is the amplitude, which is this first quantity, and then the other one is the phase space. So, this transition rate can be decay rate or it can be cross section. But in order to calculate this transition rate, we must know what is the phase space, which is a kinematical information, and if phase space allows for any process or any this transition rate, then the next thing is to calculate the amplitude. And in today's lecture, we will develop the Feynman rules or the Feynman calculus for calculating the amplitude. We can do that with the help of quantum electrodynamics, because quantum electrodynamics is the simplest of all the quantum theories. But the problem is in quantum electrodynamics, even if we take the primitive vertex, for example, if we take the example of an electron coming, an electron going, and it emits or absorbs a photon, in this primitive vertex example, even this is a complicated process, because electrons are spin half particles, and there will be some other rules for incorporating the spin of the particles into Feynman calculus. So, therefore, I decided not to give you this example or not to develop the Feynman rules with the help of quantum electrodynamics, but rather than with the help of a toy model, so that we can avoid all the complications arising from the spin and other things. So, first we want to establish the Feynman calculus theory with the help of very simple example where no such complicated things like spin of the particles is involved. So, let us construct a toy model and make it even simpler. We say that we assume that we have just 3 particles. So, there are only 3 particles, and let us name them A, B and C. And if we draw their Feynman diagram to the lowest order, remember that Feynman diagrams are of order by order. So, we can have a lowest order where there is only one vertex involved, and then we can have higher orders, that is the second order where 2 vertices are involved, and then a third order diagrams where 3 vertices are involved, and so on. So, then we have to calculate the contributions from all these diagrams and add them up to calculate the final transition rate. So, here you can see that we in our toy model we have 3 particles that is particle A, particle B and particle C. And let us assume that this is the decay process where this particle A is decaying into particle B and particle C. So, when this particle A decays into particle B and C, so this particle A has to be the heaviest particle, because then the phase space shall be available to it for the decay. If this is not the heaviest and it is lighter or even equal to the total masses of B and C, then the phase space will not allow this process to happen. So, therefore, once we assume that it is the heaviest particle, it can decay into B and C. Okay, so this is the lowest order diagram, Feynman diagram, which we have already drawn. So you don't see other complications here, the spin or other things. They are just any three particles without any further structures or properties. So particle A is decaying into particle B and C. But then question arises whether there could be higher order corrections to this process. Yes, there could be higher order corrections. For example, this is the lowest diagram I drawn again in a different setting. You can see that the line A is representing the particle A coming, and it decays into particle B and particle C. So this is the lowest order diagram where only one vertex is involved. And as I already said, the question arises that whether there can be contributions coming from the higher order diagrams where there are more vertices involved. The answer is yes, and the first of these corrections come from first order. So we call them a first order corrections. For example, look at this diagram, this Feynman diagram. There again we have three particles A, B and C, and you see that in this primitive vertex A, then what happens that the particle A decays into particle C and B, but on the line of C we again see that there is a virtual particle involved A, and the line of C is connected to the line of B is connected to the line of C. So this is somehow called the virtual particle or internal line. And now we see that this is a three order three vertices and one loop. So from one loop we say that it is a first order correction because there is an internal loop, but on the number of vertices you see there are three vertices. So you might be thinking that there are more particles now, or there are replicas of the particles, but this is not true, because what we see in this diagram, there is that one particle A is coming in and the other particle C and B are going out. So everything over here is in the loop and virtual, and we don't see them or we don't measure them. So this is the theory of Feynman calculus, that once you are inside the diagram, only the incoming and outgoing lines are measurable. So this is measurable, this is measurable, and this is measurable, but everything over here in the loop is not measurable and it is virtual. So anything can happen over here, although this will assist to there is a possibility that something happens, but we will not be able to know this. So the number of particles are still 3, that is A, B and C, and this is everything inside is internal and virtual. Okay, but this is not the only diagram which contributes to the decay of particle A into B and C. There can be other similar diagrams. For example, look at this diagram, and here on the line of particle A, then we have a vertex when it decays into B and C, and then again we get a particle A and then it goes up there. So now here this virtual this internal line is here. You can see here. So this is the internal line, and this is there is again two vertices coming in and one loop coming in, but since again it's virtual, so we will not be able to measure it. So we only measure A and B and C. So this type of diagram also contribute. So what we have to do, that we have to take in consideration this diagram, and also there is another diagram. For example, if there is a loop on the B line, so again this is something which is internal, so we don't measure it, but there is a loop, and it will have contribution to the decay rate, and we have to calculate it, although it will be smaller, because at the end, when we will develop the Feynman calculus, we will see that every vertex has its own contribution, and as the number of vertices increase, the contribution decreases. So this diagram will contribute less as compared to the first order diagram. These three, this diagram will contribute the most because it has one vertex, and these diagrams will contribute less, but still there is a contribution. But if this contribution is small enough, then we can neglect them, and that is the quantum field theory essence, where we can neglect the higher order diagrams because of their small contributions, and then we can avoid calculating this infinite number of diagrams. Because if you think that how many possibilities are there to of these diagrams, then you would say that there are infinite number of possibilities. Why? Because these are just the first order diagrams. Now you can have another loop over here, or even another loop over here, or even infinite number of loops over here. But the good thing about such loops is that this first order loop will have some contribution, but when you have two loops, it will have lesser contribution. So more and more loops you can have in diagrams, but they will contribute less and less, which you can easily neglect. Okay. So there could be another contribution for coming from the line C. So we can have again this internal lines over here, you can see. So these are not measurable, only A, B and C are measurable. So this is virtual, so this will not contribute. So although I have told you the this story about the first order diagrams, there could be now the second order diagrams, or third order corrections, and fourth order corrections, and so on. But I have also mentioned that these are not important, these are small enough to be neglected. But in our today's model, we will consider only first order contributions, the zeroth order contribution, okay, where there is no loop. Okay, so now we go towards Feynman calculus, and we develop this Feynman calculus, and there are 6 rules to develop. I will tell you each and every one and explain, and then we will calculate one simple example with them, so that to make it concrete. So let's start first with the first thing is the notation. In notation part, we say that label the incoming and outgoing momenta. You've seen that there were 3 particles, particle A, particle B and particle C. So if you want to calculate the amplitude from this diagram, now you have to label the lines, the incoming lines and outgoing lines, so that you have the clear understanding that which lines are incoming and which particles are incoming and which particles are outgoing. When you label this internal momenta, so you label the incoming and outgoing momenta, and then you label the internal momenta. If there are loops involved, then these loops will be labeled. Usually we label them with a P. The incoming and outgoing momenta are labeled with the symbol P, and the internal momenta are labeled with the symbol Q. For example, in this toy model, if we develop, you can see this is, for example, the labeling. So in this there are no loops, so we have this P1, P2, P3, for example, for the internal lines, for incoming lines, and P4, P5, P6 is for the outgoing lines. So in this way, drawing an arrow and also writing the symbol on that, so you label them, all the incoming momenta and also the outgoing momenta. And if there are loops involved, then you also have to label them with the symbol Q, the internal momenta. Okay. So once we have done the labeling, the next thing is to calculate the coupling constant. So how we will calculate this coupling constant is to, for each vertex, write down the factor minus Ig. where G is the coupling constant for the force. So for example, if you are working in electrodynamics, this will be the coupling constant of electrodynamics, but if you are working with the quantum chromodynamics, this will be the coupling constant of chromodynamics, or if you are working in the weak force, then it will be coupling constant of weak force. It depends upon which vertex do you have there, but generally we can say that for each vertex write down the factor minus Ig. So for example, if you have only one vertex, for example in this diagram, so if you have only one vertex, so there you see we have only one vertex, so we will write only one minus Ig. But if you have two vertices, there will be another factor coming in minus Ig. So it depends upon the number of vertices we have. If we have more vertices, every vertex will contribute minus Ig. Okay, so after writing down the coupling constants for each vertex, the next rule is to calculate the propagator, or to write down the propagator. So for each internal line, write a factor. If there is an internal line involved, although in our this toy model we are not considering higher order diagrams, but in next coming lectures we will also consider these higher order diagrams where we will have these internal lines. But if you have an internal line, then you will have to write out this propagator, which is L over Qj minus mj c square, where Q are the internal momenta and m is the mass of these virtual particles, but they do not lie on their mass shell. You just know what mass shell is, but you just remember the word that this is, they do not lie on their mass shell, so energy and momentum shall not be need not to be conserved. But if they lie on their mass shell as the internal and incoming or outgoing particles, then their energy and momentum has to be conserved. But at least you know that you have to write out this propagator for all the internal lines. Okay, so once this is done, the next thing is the conservation of energy and momenta for the incoming and outgoing lines. So you know that energy and momentum has to be conserved, and to make this conservation we have to write a delta function. So for each vertex we write down a delta function. So this delta function, for example, as we have also seen in the Fermi-Golden rule example, is 2 pi 4 and delta 4 k1 plus k2 plus k3. In our example, since we have three particles, so this is the this is the momenta of the particle A, this is the momenta of particle B, and this is the momenta of particle C. So we have three particles A, B and C, and k1 is the momentum for the particle A, k2 is the momentum for particle B and particle C. So this Dirac delta function ensures the law of conservation of energy and momenta on each vertex. Okay. So after we have wrote down the delta functions as well, then next thing is to do the integration over internal momenta. So now we are ready for doing the calculations, that is doing the integrations, and we will do this on over the internal momenta. So for each internal line, write down this factor 1 over 2 pi 4 d4q. If you would have seen this also in Fermi-Golden rule. So this is this is the volume element. So we will have to write for each internal line this volume element, and this is just the normalization, or this is a convenient factor, but d4q is the volume element. So we have to in order to make an integration, we have to write down this element. Okay, this was the fifth rule, and now the next one is the last one is to cancel the delta function. So to cancel the delta function, every delta function will be cancelled, but what will remain is the minus Im. So this is the amplitude. So we will be left with this factor minus Im for every delta function. Okay. So now, since we have completed all the 6 rules, and we know now that there are momenta involved, internal momenta, outgoing momenta, and all these things, and we know how to handle them. So it's good to consider an example for this toy model and calculate the amplitude with the help of this Feynman calculus. Okay. So we want to calculate the lifetime of A, because we said that this particle A is decaying into particle B and C. So we are interested in calculating the lifetime of the particle A. So in order to do this, to calculate the lifetime of the particle A, what we have to do is to draw a diagram. So since there are in this Feynman diagram, we will consider only the first order diagram of only the zeroth order diagram. So there we see that no internal lines are involved, because internal lines enter into the first order diagram. No loops are there, so no internal line, just to keep it simple. Otherwise we also have to calculate these loop diagrams, but their contributions are small enough so that we can neglect them. Then only one vertex was there, if you remember. So this was like this diagram, and since there was only one vertex, so we have the contribution minus Ig for this. So we will pick the factor of minus Ig. Remember that this was the rule, that you have to, after labeling the lines, you have to pick the factor minus Ig for each vertex. Since we have only one vertex involved, so we have to pick only one factor minus Ig. Okay. Once we have done this, the next thing is for the lowest order diagram. These are the labeling. This is just to tell you, this is A, B, C, 3 lines. So we have labeled this with a P1 and this arrow, and you can see P3 and P2, and there is only one vertex, so I will write the contribution for it minus Ig. So after this, if we calculate now the delta function, so delta function will be cancelled, because P1 must be equal to minus P2 P3, and this will just get cancelled out in order to ensure the conservation of energy and momentum. So then we obtain the amplitude, because our amplitude is not just one coupling constant, and our amplitude minus Im will be equal to minus Ig. So from this we know that m is equal to g. So you have seen that in this simple example of the toy model with 3 particles, that is particle A, B, C, we have calculated the amplitude with the help of first trying the Feynman diagram and then doing the Feynman calculus, and m comes out to be equal to g. Okay. So the thing is, we were after was the decay rate. So decay rate will be coming from the Fermi-Golden rule. Excuse me. So now we know that what is the amplitude, but it involves the square of the amplitude. So this m was equal to g, so we get g square. So this is the decay rate, but we are usually not interested in the, or we are interested in the decay rate, but after decay rate we are also interested into the lifetime of a particle, and that was the initial question, that how to calculate the lifetime of a particle from the Feynman calculus. And this lifetime, okay, so this is the momentum conservation. You can see these all particles A, B, C masses, and then all the their mixed terms, and all this is contribute to the momentum. Okay, so this is the then the lifetime finally we calculated, that is tau is equal to 1 over gamma. So you just have to invert this and you will get the lifetime for the particle A. Okay, so in this toy model we have seen that how to calculate the lifetime of any particle in this toy theory with the help of Feynman calculus and Feynman diagram. So in today's lecture we have developed a very important concept of Feynman calculus with the help of a toy model, and you have seen all these 6 rules. So first you have to write to think, so what is the strategy, or what is, you can say, the flow chart or recipe to do these calculations. So first of all you have to think of your theory, and you have to think of any process. So the next thing is that to draw a Feynman diagram for that process, at least the lowest order diagram. And then once you have drawn the lowest order diagram, the next thing is to apply the Feynman calculus and calculate the amplitude. So Feynman calculus is employed with the help of 6 rules, that is, label the internal lines, label the incoming and outgoing lines, then for each vertex write down the coupling constants, and then for internal lines write the delta functions and the volume elements, and then do the cancellations and integrals, and after that you will be left with the amplitudes. Once you know the amplitudes, then you can just put it into the Fermi golden rule just to calculate the decay rates or the cross sections, whatever you are interested in. And then we have given you the example, the toy model, where only particle A, B, C were involved. We have also talked about the higher order diagrams, first order diagrams with the loops, but we have not developed in detail, because we will do it in our next lecture. We will develop these higher diagrams in detail. And then at the end we have calculated the lifetime of a particle A, because it was the heaviest particle which decayed into other particles, and this lifetime was calculated with the help of Feynman rules. With this, I thank you all.